Hi everyone, Marty Braden here. It's Friday night, the 14th of February, day 45 of my journey to alignment. Before I get too far into things, I wanted to say everybody, Happy Valentine's Day. And if you remember right, I spoke into existence getting two personal hygiene gifts for Valentine's Day. I said that Kathleen's going to see me do this video and ask her to get those for me, and I'm going to get them. Well, take a look. Remember I talked about this little nose trimmer here. Remember I talked about that? Well, here is the ear vacuum right there in this little box that it came in right there. Got that. And I'm not going to take this out of the box, but here is the toenail sander type thing. In fact, my wife opened it up and set it all up, and she used it for her fingernails and trims of things and little polish. And she said, "This is great, honey. I'm going to go ahead and do a little foot massage and wash your feet and trim the nails not too far, and then use this little polisher sander down to get the toe so it doesn't hurt you. I'm going to do that once a month for you." And I said, "Fantastic. Sign me up." So there you go. I got them. Isn't that great? It's just that law of attraction and manifestation is fantastic. So, bam! Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. The power statement that I wrote for today, last night for this morning, said this: for the next 2 days, I will work on writing out all 12 coaching lessons content and try to have them done by the end of the day, Saturday. So let me show you this, okay? Here's lesson 1. Remember that picture for that? Well, here's the content right here. It's a little pattern that I've set up now. Coaching for Beginner Entrepreneurs by Marty Braden. Lesson 1 content. Lesson 1, how to come up with a good idea for my business. So that's what that one is coming up with that good idea. And then there's that page. Then there's that page right here. There we go. And that page. And so that's the bullets. You can see bullets. And that's kind of the lesson that I'm going to be using, and questions back and forth, and coaching, answering their questions especially. And of course, there's the 2 worksheets. One was an example, and one has all the things that they fill in right there. So there's lesson 1 content. Done. Well, here you go. Here's lesson 2. You saw that picture the other day, and you remember those 2 things. This one's example, and here's the one where they fill it out. Well, here's the continued example of filling out a persona. Well, here's my coaching content for that. It says, identify your target market, and gave an example. And there's another page of it. Same sort of thing. Bullets, questions, conversations. Lesson 2. Done. Bam! Well, guess what? We had lesson 3. Remember that one with the Star Night picture? Well, here's the little worksheet of going out and checking out your competitors. Well, the lesson says this right here. Lesson 3 content. Research your competitors. Look at that cute little cartoon here. Let me read it to you. He says, I spent hours writing down my goals, reciting my affirmations, and visualizing my success, while my competitors were out making sales calls. Look, that's my language for sure, but you definitely need to get after it, and once the business is launched, is make those calls. And so there's a nice page with some bullets there at the bottom, and a whole bunch of things here to talk about competition and answer their questions, and how that's such a great tool to find out what your competitors do, and even kind of backtrack how they use their advertising. It's just a great, great lesson. Well, here's number 4 I got done. Look at that one. Remember that one right here? Let me just read it. It says, lesson 4 content. Lesson 4. I made a mistake. Didn't take that down, so I've got to edit that. Lesson 4. Define your value proposition. And listen to this statement. Johnny's Buffet, all you can stomach. No, you're right. Eat is better. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Well, there's several bullets there, part of this lesson in this context, another page. And then if you remember right, there was the 2 right here, the value proposition, and then answering questions and coming up with the answers to do that. So that is done. Lesson 4. Lesson 4. 4 of the 12 done. Bam. So let's go ahead and go over the rest of my to-do list. This is Friday's to-do list. You see 3 or 4 yellows. And down here, you see that and some 3 yellows. Well, that was my call list. I got them started, and I remember that discussion we had last night or yesterday about that success tool I dusted off called Call Self-Talk. Well, I spent the rest of the night and throughout the day thinking and speaking the positive things about making those calls. And I looked at him and I said, I can do this. Who knows? There might even be something very exciting take place. Well, there did. The very first one I called on the client to see how he's doing. In fact, I had to worry that he might be canceling because he's not done a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Well, sure enough, he said, I'm so sorry, I've been out of town. Man, I'm glad you called. I want you to do a campaign for me. And so I got another campaign, $100, just like that for that call. Well, that was certainly a good positive result from thinking right and my self-talk about my dials and my calls. So that's what happened. There's a few other things I listed there, but let's go ahead and answer Croy's questions here. Get honest with yourself, Marty. What didn't you do well today? What could you have done better? Did you wake up and start early and strong? Yes, it did. Did you start your morning with power? Absolutely. I love Fridays. When I start up, I get called up here to the office because, man, it's the end of the week. A lot's done. I want to figure out how I'm going to end up on my Friday and have a Friday date, all that stuff. Fridays are great. Next, were you productive throughout your day? Yes. Did you get the most important things done? Bam, 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 bam. 4 contents, lessons done. Did you show up as the person you wanted to be for your sweetheart? And were you present? Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. What was the one thing out of the things you did today, Marty, that you know you can improve on? In other words, was there any failure you had today that you can turn into a tool of success? Well, if you remember, like I said last night, I was going to do this self-talk calling struggle, and I did that to get call reluctance, and it worked. I didn't get all 6 of them reached, but 3 of them I did, done, checked, removed. So that's a great success. I told myself that, you know what, Marty, it's not a big deal. Just dial and deal with what comes. If they cancel, they cancel. If they don't, they don't. You know, the positive, I can't control that. I can only control me and show up how I wanted to show up. So I did. I made those calls, and sure enough, like I said, I actually got an order. So that's the law of attraction, right in real black and white live TV, as it were. Bam, done. I also was able to contact and reach out to 2 of the other sales calls and got some things done, got some assignments for them, and I'm working for them. So that's a great thing. The next question is, what was my biggest success today? My greatest success today was picking gifts for my wife. It ended up that she, when she came, I stressed about it for the afternoon and looked, and I had these, my 2 amigos came with some suggestions. I go, oh, that's right, she does get that brand new lunch pail. It has a special insulated portion that, oh man, these thoughts came, so I got a nice card, a lovely card that's totally me and totally her, signed that, love notes, all that kind of thing. But I got her a nice thermos, a real thermos for 7 hours of hot and 12 hours of cold, and whatever, and she likes soups. That it's not been easy for her to do, but now she can take soups with her BLE and put it in there and won't leak. It's nice and tight, and it fits right perfect because it's some long, big type thing. It's great. Well, when she came to and I also got some special containers, plastic containers with special sealant lids. Now, not Tupperware. They're really, really expensive, nice, but smaller, a little deeper, that you put meals in and divide the meals one, and bam, it's just great. I was thinking of her and their work, and I also got a fork and a spoon and a knife, real heavy duty ones, really, really nice ones that are strictly for her lunch pail there, to make that be only hers. And so when she came through the door, I go, she's home, I love you, happy Valentine's. She goes, oh, hugged, and then she saw it, she goes, oh, and she looked, and she was so excited and so received the gift so well. So yes, I was present, and we had a great, happy she's home moment. Next is, what movies did you watch in your mind today, Marty? Did you make time for them? Well, my why movie, I really did this morning, and I thought more and more, thinking a little bit further down the pipe, of going in. I imagined, this just came to me, I imagined having some balloon strings up high, some heart balloons and all that, and some big 12 rose bouquet, maybe one white one and 11 others. But anyhow, in my mind, I was there. I walked up came up the elevator, came into her office, around that hallway down where her cubicle is. She moved against the big window. She gets to look outside, 6-story building, and I go, congratulations, it's retirement. So we had a little retirement celebration right there, and her people came over and they had a cake, and she blew it out, and 15-20 minutes left for the day, and then she gathered up her stuff and we walked out. She's retired. That's part of the why movie. Now, my vision movie is when she's retired and we're living that. We're going to Hawaii. We're riding our bikes together. We're walking around that park. We're going to this place and that place. We're enjoying her home all day long, every day, 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. It's going to be so great. That's what the vision movie is. And then I watched a few of the movie clips of me all day long, of me coaching people. I imagine my mind, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, and calling up and having a back and forth conversation, and then clicking open. They could see on my screen because it's a split screen type thing with Zoom or other programs that's there, and they can look and see, and I can talk about that, and they can answer and have the questions back. All little clips like that happening, pre-playing in my mind all day long. So I also imagine Kathleen reading my card and reacting like she did. Those are little movies. So yes, go to the movies is a fantastic principle. The next question is, what's the one thing you did that made you feel successful today, Marty? Well, again, these 4 lessons right here, they did that. No question about it. I felt so successful. And I imagine those coaching calls, I'm sure that I'm going to have to refine them and add more bullet points and refine and adjust. But that's how that works. As I finally have a coaching lesson and a coaching session and another coach, and they get questions, especially when they ask me the questions, it reveals who they are. For years I've sold, and I've learned over the process that you change your pitch and your story and your presentation as they come with their objections over the different times. You finally remove all their objections. By the time you're doing those last few sales calls and discussions, you've answered all their questions before you even get done presenting, because that's what you do. You can do it. So that's what I'm sure is going to be happening, that my lessons get better and better and better. Now rate your day. What was your effort like today, Marty? Well, I most definitely gave myself an 8. I did a 10 as far as I was concerned on focusing how I wanted to show up for Kathleen on Valentine's Day at the end of the day when she came home. But I gave myself a 6 as far as getting all the other items off my list. As you see here on my Friday, there's some yellow ones there. And there's some ones with hard circles here that I worked on, and I did get those, but some of the others I didn't get done. In fact, I didn't get those other 3 calls made. I reached them at the office, but they weren't there, so I didn't get to check those off. But that's okay. I did, in my mind, some good things today, but I didn't get the second podcast content started like I wanted to. So that is why I gave myself a 6 in that regard. So overall, you add the 2 together, a 10 and a 6, and it averages out to an 8. That's why I gave myself an 8. The next question is, if this was the only thing you get done tomorrow, but you'd still feel like a success, what would that one thing be? And then put that into a power statement. Well, I'd be ecstatic if I was able to write up the content of podcast 2 and do 4 more of these lessons content and write them up and be able to report to myself at the end of the day, Saturday tomorrow, and show that I got those done. So I'm going to make my power statement say this. By the end of the day, Saturday, I will have the second podcast script written out, and I will at least get 2 more lessons contents completed. Because they're so involved, I have to say that I've had to step back and readjust that lesson content goal of all 12, because there's a lot of things you have to pull together, and then you write it out and you think it through and think of the back and forth and that kind of thing. So it takes more time than I had thought, but that's okay. They're all coming through the portal of my mind, every one of them. Okay, let's end the day strong. Here's what I'm grateful for today. I'm obviously grateful for my wife, Kathleen. I love you, Kathleen. Happy Valentine's Day. I sure enjoyed our time together tonight. And you're a sweet companion that you've been my companion for 44 years now and counting. I love you. I'm grateful for all the other people I have as Valentines in my life. My 8 children and my 13 grandbabies. You know, I always would go and just shop throughout the morning. By the time the kids got home from school, on the mantle, I'd have little special gift cards and candies and little small gift all lined up for them at the end of the day when they came home, until they finally all got their own Valentine's sweetheart. Now it's up to them to do it to each other. I'm grateful for my weekends. Oh, do I love my Fridays, just like everybody else does. And I look forward to a full, enjoyable, accomplished day tomorrow. And lots of time with you, Kathleen. Love you. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow night. Until then, I wish all of you continued success. Bye.